Welcome to the Colors of Chloe show. On this channel, I host a regular live interview series bringing all kinds of creators, founders, leaders, and artists to ask them fun and deep questions about the behind the scenes of their career journeys. Today, we are talking about the evolution of esports. So without further ado, let me introduce you to our guest, Travis Gafford. Hi!
Hello.
I want to do a quick intro. Travis is very well known in the industry as a journalist and personality in League of Legends, and is the host and owner of the show State of the League and Whose League Is It Anyways? I really want to know, what has been your general life path since childhood and how you even got into the gaming industry? I know what your LinkedIn looks like, but I want to hear the story version.
I was born in Southern California, down in the San Diego area, so just a little bit south of where I am now in Los Angeles. I've pretty much always been into games. I had two people in my life, my father and my grandfather, who were both really into technology and games and stuff. And so I remembered booting Lemmings out of MS-DOS on my grandfather's PC, and then also getting a Nintendo and playing Mario Brothers with my father. And I think it just always became a thing after that I just always loved games. I was always interested in these games, but I had not played necessarily the competitive PC games. And so in junior high, I got exposed to StarCraft Brood War, Warcraft 3, and then in high school started playing World of Warcraft. Around that time, Dota as well, which led me to League of Legends and all that stuff. So that was really, just constantly into games. In college, especially about halfway through, knew that I really wanted to work in games. Yeah, that's sort of what my early gaming years were like.
How did you land your first job and then pivot specifically into gaming?
When I graduated university, I really wanted to work at Riot Games. And I thought that I would be able to. For context, Riot at that point in time, they were maybe 1 or 2 years out from having created League of Legends, probably only about a year. And so I really thought I could get a job at Riot. And then I applied and didn't get the job. And I'm very happy that I didn't, because I ended up shortly thereafter meeting a rookie player named Doublelift, and we became really good friends. Doublelift had decided he was going to go full-time into esports. I said that I was jealous and I wish I had an idea of what to do, and he said you should interview people. And so then I created a show called State of the League, which was modeled after a StarCraft show called State of the Game, and that became really popular. And I took a part-time job working 30 hours a week just at a content website where I just helped write blog posts and stuff like that. So yeah, that's kind of how it all started.
Could you describe what the esports scene looked like when you first started? You mentioned a little bit.
Twitch TV didn't exist. It was Justin TV. So this was a decade ago. This was 2011. Now It's obviously 2020. And I streamed on a website called Own3D TV, which was very short-lived. It stopped existing in 2012, I want to say. And then I made the jump over to Twitch. It was really difficult to do it full time. Nobody was really doing it full time. There were some people in StarCraft and some MLG folks. Now we look at esports and we see all these NBA teams that are invested. Summer 2012, there was no LCS or big league in the US. And actually, a lot of the popular teams like CLG had flown over to play in the Korean league, because there was a Korean league that had started off. I had never been outside the US, but the League of Legends subreddit, which now is a little bit more nitpicky and a little less supportive and grassroots, they actually crowdfunded a trip for me to go to Korea so that I could cover the league and do all these interviews and all this coverage. That was when I knew that, okay, there's something here. And then by the end of that year, GameSpot had said, why don't we pick you up and you can do a day rate thing with us sometimes for these events.
Do you think esports can grow to compete strongly with traditional sports, especially in the last year everything's gone virtual with COVID?
I think yes. I don't think it will happen in the next 10 to 20 years. This is the thing. Everybody wants to just say,
well, esports is going to be as big as traditional sports in 5 years.
It's no, think about traditional sports. Think about the age range of people that watch MLB or NBA or whatever, these massive age ranges, and people that have watched this as part of a generational thing, their parents watched NBA, their parents watched baseball, they maybe grew up playing this, versus how many people right now, grew up playing video games. A lot of people, but not my parents' generation. I think esports will get as big as traditional sports when the amount of people on the planet is equal to the number of traditional sports folks, people that grew up playing it. That's the way I tend to think of it. That doesn't mean that esports can't be awesome and captivating and really worth it. the short term, but yeah.
Okay, so for the people who are interested in careers in esports, can you break down how a team is structured role-wise or functionally-wise?
So it really depends on the team and the way they approach it and what they're looking for. So you have FlyQuest, who I think at last count has 5 or 6 employees, right? Very small organization, really focused around just making very targeted investments in the space. And then you have teams like Cloud9 and Team Liquid, who really just try to get into everything. So it really depends, but I think that also affords a great deal of opportunity to people who do want to work in the space. Yeah, I think they tend to mirror a lot of either traditional sports or media companies, where you have the sales arm that handles sponsorships and partnerships and all that stuff. And then you've got analysts and coaches and assistant coaches and general managers. And there's no one quick answer to kind of break it all down, because there are so many different aspects of this. Yeah, I think there's a lot of different stuff.
I want to get your perspective on what you think the esports world will look like 10 years from now.
Oh boy, I think there's 2 different scenarios, and it's probably going to be somewhere in the middle. But I think in the wide range of probability, I think esports in general, including League, could look huge. We could be looking at where we're at right now and say oh, we thought that was big, but 3 more esports released over the course of the 2020s that were even more popular, and I think that could definitely happen. I think on the other hand, we could end up in a situation where CSGO, Fortnite, League, they kind of lose audience over time, and you don't really have other games that come up to replace them. You just kind of have esports continue to be a thing, still gets kind of some investment, but people don't really think about it as a competitor to the NBA or on that level with X Games and stuff like that. Those are still around. They're not at the level that they were before, and they certainly don't command the attention that they did back in the 90s and early 2000s. We'll see.
Good perspective on it. So let's transition over to audience Q&A. Where does the esports boom go now, since the pandemic has forced tournaments out of large in-person events that gain mainstream media attention?
Yeah, I think there was a lot of media attention around the fact that esports were able to continue, especially in the early days of the pandemic when so many traditional sports were not. And I think, the fact that Riot was able to pull off League of Legends Worlds last year, a giant international event, in the same year that you couldn't do the Olympics and the NBA finals were kind of shortened and constrained and all that stuff. I think that is a testament to what you can do in esports and how successful this stuff can be.
Do you find it a strength or a weakness that esports titles are replaced with a greater frequency than with traditional sports? For example, football 20 years ago and football today are a shared experience. The same can't be said for League or Counter-Strike.
I think that while you do see some turnover, there's still a lot of these things that have been popular for a long time. I'm sure there are people that watch Call of Duty League that have been playing Call of Duty forever. Certainly Halo's like that, right? Now, obviously Halo's not a huge esport right now, but League, people have been playing for 11 or 12 years. So we're not too far off from that 20-year mark. And I think that there will be some esports that get to that. League could be one of them. On the other hand, I think it's okay that there's some churn a little bit, because I think the world is changing from a situation where you can just watch baseball your entire life and have it be the exact same rules and have it be the exact same game and have it be the exact same dynamic and just enjoy it the same way for 50 years, 60 years even. I don't. Maybe people will be really big fans of League and maybe they'll watch it for a very long time, but the game in and of itself, the fact that it changes so much and the seasons are so different and the rules are so different and all that stuff, I think that actually does help. There's maybe a world where you change a little too much and it's a little too chaotic, but I think it's okay that we see so much change in these games, and also that you have other games that come up to kind of rival them.
So that pretty much wraps up everything. So thank you so much for being on the show today, Travis. If people have more questions or want to follow your work, where is the best place for them to get in touch with you?
They should just Google Travis Gafford. That's where other people can find my YouTube and my Twitter and all that stuff.
And if you're new to the channel, I do host regular co-working, co-studying sessions throughout the work week. And so feel free to stop by, work together, to talk about life paths and stuff. And that's it for now. Thank you so much for joining, everyone. We will see y'all next time.